There are certain individuals who walk through life feeling slightly out of place, as though they operate on a wavelength most people cannot tune into. These are not merely highly intelligent individuals. Intelligence alone is far more common. Instead, this rare group processes reality in a way that goes beyond conventional understanding, drawing from layers of meaning, symbolism, intuition, and deep psychological insight that the majority overlook. Carl Jung, a pioneer of depth psychology, explored these rare cognitive patterns, finding them to be both a gift and a challenge. If you've ever felt misunderstood despite your best efforts, or sensed that your mind moves through dimensions of awareness that others cannot perceive, you might belong to the 1% of people whose mental architecture functions on an extraordinary level. Below, we explore the 8 defining traits of such a mind, and why it is both an incredible gift and a unique challenge to carry. 1. Seeing patterns. Others miss. One of the first hallmarks of this rare cognitive pattern is the ability to perceive patterns and hidden connections that remain invisible to most people. While the average mind focuses on surface-level facts or the literal meaning of words, your mind naturally picks up on the intricate web that connects events, emotions, and contexts. You might often find yourself predicting the outcome of situations, not because of obvious clues, but because your intuition picks up on the underlying narrative that others cannot see. This form of perception is closely related to what Carl Jung called introverted intuition, an ability to synthesize vast amounts of unconscious information and recognize archetypal patterns. This can be both a gift and a source of alienation. In conversations, while others may focus only on what is being said, your mind processes the emotional undertones, the unspoken intentions, and even the potential consequences that stretch far into the future. This multi-layered processing makes your mind operate on multiple frequencies simultaneously, whereas others often function on only one. 2. Experiencing reality in layers. Most people experience events as they happen, linearly, plainly, and without much introspection. For you, reality is a tapestry of meaning. When someone says they are fine, you notice their body language contradicts their words. When an event occurs, you sense not only its immediate effect, but also the historical echoes, emotional currents, and unconscious motives tied to it. Carl Jung called this capacity psychological depth perception. It enables you to see beneath the surface of life, often making interactions with others more complex than they appear. However, this depth of perception can make communication challenging. Sharing your insights often leads to blank stares or confusion because the people you're speaking with are not equipped to perceive the same layers you are describing. This layered awareness often calls you to become a translator between the unconscious and the conscious world, expressing ideas, metaphors, and concepts that bridge gaps others cannot even perceive. 3. Drawn to the shadow side of human nature. Where many people shy away from exploring the darker aspects of humanity, your mind feels an almost magnetic pull toward them. Carl Jung emphasized the importance of the shadow, the hidden, suppressed, and often darker parts of the human psyche that most people fear to acknowledge. You are not fascinated by darkness out of morbidity or thrill-seeking. Instead, your mind seeks understanding. Why do people harm others? What motivates destructive behavior? How can one reconcile the contradictions of good and evil within the same individual? This interest reflects psychological maturity. To truly understand the human condition, one must be willing to confront its contradictions, not merely idealize its virtues. You may find yourself drawn to complex, morally ambiguous characters in literature and film, deep philosophical discussions, or even true crime, not for the shock value, but for the insight it offers into the complexity of human nature. 4. Feeling like you speak a different language. For rare minds, Communication can feel like trying to explain a vivid dream using only black and white words. Your thoughts are often rich with symbolism, metaphor, and layered meaning, yet most people communicate on a literal, surface level. This gap creates what Jung described as psychological loneliness. You may find that when you share your observations, people misinterpret them or miss their significance entirely. As a result, you might gravitate toward written communication, where you can refine your thoughts, or prefer one-on-one conversations, where the depth of meaning can unfold gradually. Sometimes, rather than trying to explain the fullness of your perspective, you simplify it, at the expense of your own expression. This is why rare minds often say, "never mind," or choose silence, not because they lack insight, but because translating their inner world feels too complex for everyday interactions. 5. Discomfort with pure logic. This may sound paradoxical. A mind that seems more complex than most is often uncomfortable relying on logic alone. But this is not a rejection of reason. It is an awareness of its limits. While many people rely solely on cause and effect thinking, you intuitively integrate logic with emotion, symbolism, paradox, and even a sense of what feels right. Jung referred to this as intuitive logic, a higher order reasoning that doesn't discard rationality, but places it within a more expansive framework. When making decisions or solving problems, you don't just analyze the data. You sense the deeper implications, the human element, and the unseen forces at play. This is why you may feel frustrated when others dismiss intuition or non-quantifiable factors. For you, understanding is not linear. It is a synthesis of multiple ways of knowing. And while this makes your solutions more creative and holistic, it also makes them harder to explain to people who rely exclusively on measurable evidence. 6. Seeing through social masks. Human beings present personas, social masks designed to navigate society safely. Most people accept these at face value. You, however, can see through them effortlessly. You notice micro-expressions, subtle incongruities between words and body language, and the protective behaviors people use to shield their authentic selves. This ability is both a gift and a burden. On one hand, it makes you a confidant, someone others instinctively open up to because they sense they can be authentic with you. On the other, it can be exhausting to exist in environments full of performance and superficiality. Carl Jung described this as access to active imagination, a form of psychological vision that penetrates beneath appearances. While others engage in small talk, your mind yearns for real, vulnerable conversations where masks are lowered and the authentic self is allowed to emerge. 7. Experiencing existential loneliness. Existential loneliness is not the same as social isolation. You may have relationships, friends, even a supportive community, and still feel profoundly alone in how you perceive the world. This is because your mind contemplates questions others rarely pause to consider. What is the meaning of existence? Why is there suffering? What does it mean to become fully oneself? Carl Jung considered this orientation a sign of spiritual maturity, not pathology. Rather than seeking shallow distractions, you seek authentic answers, even if they take a lifetime to uncover. This existential awareness is not a flaw. It is a sign your consciousness has expanded beyond conventional limits. However, it does create a sense of being out of place, like you inhabit a dimension most people cannot see, and their contentment with surface-level living leaves you wondering whether you are the strange one. 8. A calling toward transformation. The final, and perhaps most defining feature of a rare mind is its compulsion toward transformation. While many people seek stability and predictability, you are drawn to growth, challenge, and even breakdowns that force you to rebuild stronger. Transformation for you is not optional. It feels like a calling, something deep within you urging you to evolve. This can manifest as repeatedly entering situations that challenge your limits, questioning your own beliefs, or feeling restless when life becomes too static. Jung believed such individuals are not content to make minor improvements. They undergo deep, often painful metamorphoses to become who they are truly meant to be. Transformation is not destruction. It is integration. Your mind is built to explore the depths, face the shadows, and emerge more whole each time. The role of rare minds in humanity. Having a mind that 99% of people cannot understand is not a curse, it is a responsibility. Jung saw such individuals as bridges between worlds, people capable of seeing connections others miss, translating the unconscious into the conscious, and guiding society toward greater depth and authenticity. Your ability to see patterns, perceive layers, embrace the shadow, and integrate multiple ways of knowing is precisely what the world needs in an era that often values speed, conformity, and surface-level thinking over depth and reflection. Rather than dim your light to fit in, your challenge is to shine fully, and in doing so, invite others to expand their own awareness, embracing your unique mind. If you recognize yourself in these signs, the question is no longer, do I belong to this rare group? You likely do. The real question is, what will you do with this understanding? Will you continue to silence yourself, to avoid confusion, or will you learn to bridge your inner and outer worlds more skillfully? Will you see your existential loneliness as a burden, or as a doorway into deeper self-realization? Will you hide your gift, or will you share it, knowing that even if most do not understand, those who are ready will find resonance in your depth? Your mind is not meant to conform. It is meant to illuminate, to transform, and to invite others to evolve. Jung's words echo here. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. So, become it.